guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Tawana Antoinette. Today we're getting comfortable because I realize that I do my best work when I'm comfortable. So that's a validation. And I don't have hand sanitizer. Hear me. So today we're going to talk about dealing with relationships as you ascend, or as you go through your awakening. So this is something that I actually am dealing with at this moment in time, as well as a few members of my soul tribe. So I thought this was the perfect time to do a video on this. I really believe in documenting my journey as I go. And so what we'll really be talking about is just being able to maintain the former version of you as you discover the newest versions of yourself. So the former versions of you are going to have connections and attachments and relationships that may not even necessarily be lining up with where you're aligning to go in the future or the path that you're choosing to travel. So this video is really just figuring out how to navigate that playing field. So let's jump right in. So what is an awakening? An awakening, in my words, would be an expansion of consciousness, to put it very simply. An awakening would be a period in your life where your consciousness is expanded to levels it's never been expanded before, and so you're able to conceptualize and conceive things in different ways, whether that be relationships. Actually, you perceive everything differently. It's like new pathways consistently being opened in the mind. So you're going through that and everything is changing around you, and you're discovering spirituality, and you're digging deep inside of yourself, and you're going through the dark night of the soul, doing the shadow work, integrating your shadow, you're doing all of the spiritual work, and that is you ascending rapidly and you healing yourself. But oftentimes what we don't realize is that we're going through this journey by ourselves, on our own, because the spiritual journey and the spiritual path is an individual path. And so when we have this much attention focused on self, sometimes we kind of abandon what else is going on in our lives, anything outside of us, or friends or family, things like that, because their paths, they're not important anymore when you've fully recognized that your spiritual journey is an individual one. So while focusing on you, there's this distance being created in other areas, and you're probably not aware until you all of a sudden are. So I like to say, I wrote my notes. You know, I always am writing my notes. All right, so the first step of your awakening is you're awakening to self. You're awakening to self rapidly, and you're seeing all these new things. And the second part of that is when you start dealing with others, you awaken to yourself, and then you awaken to other people too. So this is now where you're able to start spotting the things that other people need to heal within themselves. You're kind of starting to spot triggers that you have. I don't know who's calling me right now. But yeah, this is where you're kind of starting to spot triggers, like people triggering you in areas, you triggering others in areas. It's a very transparent time that you're in, because you're able to look at the self and you're able to look at others without judgment and without bias, and you're having a compassion for yourself and also a compassion for them, because you're able to see self in other. So that is the awakening process. You are going through that, your eyes are just expanding. The next stage that I have personally gone through is wanting to share everything that I've learned. I've learned all these cool stuff, and I kind of just want to tell this person, and I want to tell that person, and I just want to freaking share. I just really want to share all of the things that I'm learning, because I'm feeling oh my God, this is changing my life so much. I want to help change your life. If you only knew this information, I've been able to do this with this, here, let me teach you, let me tell you, so you want to share with everyone. And sometimes you're overly like anxious to share with your family because those are the people that you love, and you're like, I feel so good and I feel so empowered and I want you to feel the same way that I feel. However, because there is a however, I'm also drinking tea at 2 p.m. Don't judge me. So yeah, you start sharing with others. However, you're gonna realize that when you start sharing with others, there's some people who just don't want to hear. There's some people who just don't want to hear, and that's okay. There are people who don't want to hear, and you know what? This is gonna teach you too. Like, don't teach people on, like, if somebody doesn't solicit your advice, if somebody doesn't solicit your help, focus on yourself. You don't need to help people. It's fine. Help those who want to be helped. So immediately coming from a place of empowerment that you know so much, the human thing is to want to like share with people, especially if you're vibing in love and you genuinely, authentically, lovingly just want to help better people's lives, especially the people who are closest to you. You're gonna realize though that not everybody is at the same pace that you're at. Not everybody needs this experience in terms of spirituality. So let me unpack that a little bit. In this incarnation, which is like this cycle of life, this lifetime that you're choosing, let's say spirituality is an important experience for me to have right now in this lifetime, right? But spirituality may not, or traveling a spiritual path may not be a relevant experience for my mom in this lifetime. I can't force feed my spiritual knowledge to her, because you know what? I've had lifetimes that I probably wasn't woke, or I wasn't aware, or I wasn't enlightened, and I wasn't ready. So when you have that kind of understanding of people and humanity and the incarnations and just the principle of allowing people to choose their own path, I feel like you'll kind of get the message that let me rein it in. Everybody doesn't need to like hear all these ways to change your life. Nobody needs to hear about these new yoga positions that I found, or the fact that they could use this method to heal themselves, or that they could use this plant to heal themselves, or whatever. So you're going to realize that really quickly, and then that brings you to the next stage. The next stage that I experienced was shedding. Shedding. So shedding is hard, because shedding is you literally losing everything that you knew to be familiar and safe. So shedding looks like losing old friends, probably separating or distancing yourself from family, probably coming out of certain social circles that you used to be in, having certain conversations that you used to have. Like, you're just shedding the things that no longer serve you, including connections, including relationships. So this is an all-encompassing thing in ascension or in an awakening, because it's almost like your new vibration is not able to maintain the things, the behaviors, the people that you were holding space for in your old vibration, if that makes sense. So you'll kind of just notice like some random arguments will just pop up, and then you just won't talk to somebody again after that, because like it's almost like the universe brought in a tower moment, because it's like, you know what, this had to happen. This person just doesn't fit your vibe anymore, and it's just don't make a big deal out of it. Just say goodbye, thank each other for the time that you guys actually were helpful to each other, and move on. There are more people. At least that's what I feel like the universe was saying to me in this period. So like, you start shedding people. There's certain things that you may not want to eat anymore. There's certain things that you just grew up from, really. And it feels isolating, which brings me to the next stage, the isolation. And this is where you feel so misunderstood. What's happening here is you're now sitting in the newfound knowledge that you've gained. You're sitting in this newest version of you that you've created. and the people around you are not used to this new you. And what happens is when people see you changing, especially people who love you, it evokes stress or fear in them because they feel like they're going to lose you. They're losing the idea, the concept, like the conception, like the perception that they've had of you for a specific amount of time, however long you've known each other. So when you're changing, like you're kind of picking up on their fear, you're also picking up on the fact that they're going through whatever they need to go through and they're being triggered in seeing another person grow, and you may not even want to deal with it by choice. But the point is that there are going to be people who don't necessarily understand your journey, and because of that you're going to be feeling more isolated than ever. Kind of like you're tapping into a new level of consciousness and you're not able to relate to anyone or anything around you. That forces a person to kind of like be by themselves. It also can sometimes manifest as you being very defensive. So you probably exercising ultra independence, or you just not really wanting anyone in your space, or you kind of rejecting connections because you're used to being outcasted, or you being like fully settling into the role of being misunderstood to the point where your identity now becomes misunderstood me, and so you don't really allow people to come around you. But yeah, there's a period of isolation, and it's all cool. It's fine. You need to go through it. It's temporary, but you'll be kind of hanging out by yourself for a hot minute. So for me, this looked like not being able to relate to anyone around me anymore. I felt like I was in a period where my life was being cleared of everything around me and everyone around me. I lost friends that I had for years over some stuff that just randomly happened. I would have never thought that this would have happened. And in that moment, I just felt like, you know what? I don't want to be friends with this person. I don't see the point of this relationship anymore. I don't want this. I don't like my life through force or voluntarily was being cleared of everything that I felt like I knew to be familiar. And in that moment I felt victimized because I'm like, oh my god, I'm losing so many things, I'm losing so many people. But then I had to go through that to realize the gift in isolation, because when you are in a place of isolation and shedding, what's really happening is that you're clearing energetic space to make room for the new things that serve you. So to kind of attract new people, to kind of attract new things to you. So yeah, the next stage, moving on from isolation and that period of just energetic clearing, I felt like I was pushed immediately into like, okay, you're moving up to another level. You need new people to support you, because you cannot be in this existence by yourself. You need people. So what that really starts to look like is you attracting your soul tribe. You're attracting people who are on the same vibration as you. You're attracting your soul family. So this is essentially going to be like you adopting people. You have a set family that you were born into, but then you have your chosen family in this incarnation. And so if you're doing the work and you're committing to the healing and you're committing to the daily habits that you need to improve yourself and raise your vibe, then you and you're actually submitting and surrendering to everything that you must lose to go up and gain more in consciousness, then you start to attract the people, things, and places that you need, that align with your experience here, that put you in alignment, that kind of just feels like home. It just feels easy with these people, and they may not even be your forever people, but they're the new people that you need in this vibration. You know, like they have similar vibration to you right now, and these are the people who you need to help you throughout your path. So you start attracting your soul tribe, and shit starts to feel good, because you're like, oh my god, I finally understand why that friendship had to end. I finally understand why that relationship had to end. I finally realized why I had to go through that shitty karmic relationship to learn and be prepared for the, you know, like you just start to attract the things that just feel good for you. Like this feels like home, feels like you're just picking up where you left off with these people. Yeah, very good place to be. And then this is the stage that I currently am at that I would love to talk about because it took me a while to get here. And this is compassion for self and compassion for others. So oftentimes when you're ascending, especially for someone like me, I consider my ascensions like rapid. I feel like I'm going through like energetic updates pretty often these days, and just upgrades in who I am, in my being. So when you do start ascending at this level, or even just ascending, sometimes what can happen is that you feel spiritual superiority. Like there's some people who feel like this clarity and this understanding, and they suddenly start to feel like almost better than people who are not tapping into this level of consciousness, this level of awareness right now. And so there are these judgments that can manifest in us. So we're judging somebody for having a particular experience, or we're judging our family members for probably operating in just the best way they knew how to support us before. We're almost like, well, I was able to do this work, so why can't this person do this work? And in this moment, having compassion for self and compassion for others really helps you preserve certain relationships, because like I said earlier, not everybody is going to be incarnating in this lifetime to have a spiritual experience. And you still have a mom, you still have a dad, you still have cousins, you still have aunties, uncles, whatever, and maybe it's just not their path to be as enlightened as you. But you're going to start realizing that that doesn't necessarily mean that, it doesn't mean that they need to be outcasted from your life, or they need to be shut out from your life, or they need to like not have access to you. You kind of start learning boundaries, and you kind of start learning how much you want to let someone in. But you just, the point is to just have compassion for these people, because really, if you are really as spiritual as you say you are, then you will have an understanding that these people are just other versions of you, right? There's always self in other. And in this moment, they're doing the best that they can. They're doing the best that they can with the awareness that they have. And it's not your place, my place, anyone's place to judge anyone for the path that they're taking if it's not harmful to anyone. But yeah, it's not my place to judge my mom's path. It's not my place to judge my dad's path. The only thing I can do is set up energetic and physical boundaries so they can see how much I'm willing to give to them, how much I'm willing to show up. But it doesn't necessarily mean that if they're not vibing on the same level as me all the time, then I don't want to be around them. So just having that compassion that people are also with you. You don't need to outcast everyone. You don't need to cut everyone off. You kind of start getting into a place where you're holding space for wherever it is that person is on their journey. And you're also practicing detachment, because you know that you do not need them. They do not need you. You are voluntarily involving yourself in this person's life. And at any moment, if this is harmful for you, you can voluntarily stop participating, whatever. But it doesn't always have to be an extreme case like, oh, I'm cutting this person off, or oh, this person is just not as high vibe as me, blah, blah, blah. Which I sometimes like to call spiritual elitism. I do not believe in that. I believe that we're all traveling very personal paths, and we're here to experience the things that are relevant to our soul's journey. So it's just ridiculous to me to judge somebody else for the experience that they're having. So that's really what compassion for self and other means. And then I feel like the second part of this, which is important to say, is we never ever get to a point of awareness where we're not fixing something or we're not healing something. So having that compassion first and foremost for self, knowing that we'll always be leveling up, we'll always be healing something, we'll always have some kind of work to do, it makes it easier to hold space for someone else, because now you're looking at yourself as what you truly are, a human, imperfect, perfect in your imperfections, but you also realize that you need to allow others to be that as well. And you need to give people the freedom to kind of explore that imperfection without you having like a threat over their head that they will, like, you will lose me if XYZ. So I think that's where I am currently, just having compassion for myself, having compassion for others. It has really helped me in preserving relationships that have been a little bit tricky to navigate as I ascend, relationships that I want to hold on to. Maybe not talk every single day, but I would like to keep this person in my life. Even though I know that they are not in the best space, I'm still able to kind of work with them, with my boundaries being respected at all times, of course. So that's really what I have to share on navigating relationships while you ascend. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, remember to like, share, subscribe, turn on the bell so you know when new videos are out. And